not like the others. One of these things
Description is an important part of the research process, but I think we don't take it very seriously when we talk to students about it. So in this tutorial, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about description, what it is, and why it's so important to the research process. So just thinking about the definition of description, it's a spoken or written representation or account of a person, object, or event. What we're trying to do is to create a picture of a thing in the mind of another. Description, at its most basic, is describing something so that somebody else can understand it, but also so that we can get a better understanding of the thing that we're describing. Listen to how the writer Maxine Kingston uses descriptive language. Once in a long while, 4 times so far for me, my mother brings out the metal tube that holds her medical diploma. On the tube are gold circles crossed with 7 red lines, each joy ideographs in abstract. There are also little flowers that look like gears for a gold machine. According to the scraps of labels with Chinese and American addresses, stamps, and postmarks, the family airmailed the can from Hong Kong in 1950. It got crushed in the middle, and whoever tried to peel the labels off stopped because the red and gold paint came off too, leaving silver scratches that rust. Somebody tried to pry the end off before discovering that the tube falls apart. When I opened it, the smell of China flies out, a 1,000-year-old bat flying heavy-handed out of the Chinese caverns, where bats are as white as dust, a smell that comes from long ago, far back in the brain. This is from her book, The Woman Warrior, Memoirs of a Girlhood Among Ghosts. Notice how she uses both informative and descriptive prose. The informative talking about the labels with the addresses, the stamps, and the postmarks, and how that not only conjures the object in our heads, but it also provides us with information that the family airmailed the can from Hong Kong in 1950. There's also descriptive prose. This line about the smell of China flies out, a 1,000-year bat flying heavy handed out of the Chinese caverns. That describes something different about this particular artifact. By the time she's done with her description, we have a good idea of what the thing looks like and also what its history is. In describing things well, we begin to lay the foundation for classifying things according to their similarities and differences, laying the foundation for our ability to compare things. Take, for instance, the very difficult work that took a good century at least of describing different animals and through those descriptions, creating classifications so that we put together on the tree of life all of the amphibians and all of the mammals, and then describing the differences between mammals as the mammal tree branches branch out from mammals to different kinds of mammals. Imagine walking into a library and you're going to look for some books, but all the books are simply stacked up one on top of the other. How would you ever find the book that you're looking for? That's why libraries use classification systems, so that you can find the books that you're looking for. This is the Library of Congress classification system, and it's based on a basic description of the book, what the subject is, and then oftentimes what some of the sub-subjects are. So you don't just simply have books about politics, but you have books about politics in other countries, books about politics in the United States, books about political philosophy, and so on. And through this classification scheme, which is based on description, you're going to be able to find the books that you want. A classification system depends on proper and accurate description. Description also begins to raise questions. It becomes an engine of curiosity. Description leads us to ask questions like, where did this thing come from? Why did anybody make this thing? Who made it? Where were they? How was it made? How was it used by the people who made it? In this sense, the process of description leads us to begin asking some really interesting questions. Let's think about description for a second. We have this item. What is it? It's a button. But describing it simply as a button doesn't really make a lot of sense because there are different kinds of buttons um, and of different shapes and different sizes. So let's take a close look at this. This is an Obama 2012 button, so it must be from the election. And looking around for some identifying information, I saw on the side OFA 0221, which indicates that it was Obama for America that created it. And then there's also this other thing called a union bug, and that indicates that it was made by a union shop. And so this probably came from an official campaign outlet. The campaigns like to use, Democratic campaigns like to use union labor. Now let's go back and take a closer look at the button. The button has colors, red, white, and blue. It has text. It also has size. This one's about 2¼ inches. Then we will turn to a different kind of political memorabilia. This is square. I don't see anything on the edges that indicates where it's from. The back doesn't have a button or a pin. That's interesting. Down at the bottom, it says CWI, made in the USA. We might want to find out what CWI is, who made this. This is from the inauguration of Obama. It also has size. It looks like it's about 3 inches wide and about 2 inches or so high. So it has those qualities. And then there's this one. This is kind of a mystery. It says 012009, and I don't see anything on the edges. There's that weird black stuff on the back again. Um, so, of course, January 20th, 2009 was the inauguration of Barack Obama, and there were a lot of people who were looking forward to that particular event. And so this button seems to be from an Obama perspective, sort of saying, well, we can't wait until Obama is in and George Bush is out. So let's explore this a little bit more. We had these two buttons with the black stuff on the back, and when I put one on top of the other and pick it up here, hey, they stick together. So this is a magnet, not a button. This appears to be the kind of magnet that you might put on your refrigerator or something like that. So let's go back to that Obama button that we were looking at and come up with ways to describe it. It's a presidential campaign button from 2012. It's red, white, and blue. It has a safety pin back. It's round, and it's about 2¼ inches in diameter. It was created by Obama for America, and manufactured by the International Union of Allied Novelty and Production Workers, who are affiliated with the AFL-CIO. Who would have known that we could get all of that information from a simple button? Well, description requires that the person who's doing the describing take some time to carefully consider the object or the thing that they're trying to explain to somebody else, and then take enough care to explain the relevant details that the person's going to need and able to understand or interpret that particular object. Notice that we didn't use the kind of descriptive language that Maxine Kingston used to describe her mother's diploma tube, but that might be appropriate depending on what your particular disciplinary expectations are for this kind of thinking and writing. Description is a really important part of the research process. It does take some attention to detail and quite a bit of thought, but you'll find that the better you become at describing things, the better researcher you'll become.
One of these things is not like the others. One of